Hello there, one and all, and welcome to episode 318 of Love at First Scent with me, Persolaise, coming to you live on YouTube. For those of you who very conscientiously and diligently tuned in live and are watching live indeed, apologies for the delay in the start. I promise it was to do with circumstances completely beyond my control, and hopefully the 15-minute wait will turn out to be worth it. Obviously, if you're watching the recording, this is not going to mean anything to you. The first comment goes to Rich Mitch, and I'm tempted to sort of say, don't hold back. Tell us how you feel about this release, Rich. Rich says, it's awful, to which Spaced Out responds with an LOL. Angela's saying, hi there, Persolaise, and everyone, good afternoon. Hello to you as well. Stefan says Frederic Malle should recall all the bottles and apologize. Roucel should resign. Oh dear, is this how it's going to go? Herb says, I ran home from work. You've got a couple of minutes to get yourself a glass of water if you need to. And Özlem brings things back into the kind of tone that we want to maintain here on this channel by saying, hello, I'm wearing Coromandel today. David is here as well saying hello. Michael says, just ignore all the people in the chat and make up your own mind. I absolutely will, Michael, although I enjoy reading all of the chat comments, as you know. And I have kind of made up my own mind because I did decide I needed to wear this properly so that this video can be as complete and as comprehensive as possible, as in-depth as possible. But just a few little bits and pieces of housekeeping. If you are new to this channel, if you haven't subscribed to my videos already, please do consider doing so. Click on the little bell so that you get notifications of new videos. And if you would like to support my work, then you should be able to find out how you can do that by clicking on the link to Ko-fi in the video description below. But for today's delectation and enjoyment, perhaps not riches though, we have brand new from Frederic Malle, a scent called Uncut Gem, composed by a chap that I think we can describe with the adjective legendary, Maurice Roucel, who has also done other scents for Frederic Malle in the past. And as I say, we like a little bit of context on this channel, don't we? So I think we should just spend a few minutes gathering our thoughts. I have worn this, I think, twice, possibly 3 times. I've had my bottle for a few days, and I thought, okay, number one, I can't wait. I needed to smell it straight away. And then I thought I would wear it because I thought when the time actually comes to do this video, I need to have composed my thoughts as completely and as as comprehensively as possible, I think, to try and bring as many aspects of what I think about this scent to you. What are other people saying? Only heard bad things about this one so far, says Stephen Tampin. Maurice Roucel is overrated, says Woozy. His last good release was probably Insolence for Guerlain over 15 years ago. Nubianette says, hello from California. I'm wearing Vara. Enchamade says, I trust you will be fair and objective, Mr. P. Looking forward to your unbiased thoughts. Appreciate this. Well, all of our thoughts are biased to some extent, right? We can't help being biased in some ways. A comprehensive dismantling is all that this scent deserves, says Woozy. Okay, look, there are plenty of you out there who've already made it very clear that you don't much like it. Rich Mitch explained why in a comment in the community tab over on my channel, but I genuinely would like to know why some of you dislike it so much. Would you like to know what I think? Okay, let's have a spray. So this is Uncut Gem, the first release we have had from the brand since last year's Synthetic Jungle, composed by Anne Flippo. And to give the brand its due, they have not yet gone down, even though they've been an Estee Lauder company out for a good few years, they have not gone down the route of releasing one new scent every 3 months and scents in sets of 4 or 3 or whatever. We had Synthetic Jungle last year. We had nothing in 2020, I believe, although I think Synthetic Jungle was probably meant to have come out last year. And this year, this is the only new one that we've had. So here we go. Uncut Gem being sprayed as well on a proper Frederic Malle blotter. Lots of people I know have already been commenting saying that they can't wait to see what my forehead is going to do. My forehead is not going to display the element of surprise because, as I say, I have already smelt and worn this. Joined just in time, says Scent Genie. Yes, absolutely. Okay. So Your tone tells me it wasn't a love, says Cheap Imitation. See, it actually feels a little bit harsher on paper now. But anyway, my overwhelming impression of this. See, I don't hate it. I don't hate it at all. I definitely do not hate it as much as some of you out there seem to. And I think actually if I hated it, if I really had a very, very strong visceral reaction to it, I might end up admiring it a little bit more, because then I would be able to say that it's polarizing and it's interesting and it's doing something bold. And if I hate it, then maybe some other people are going to love it. I actually find it really, really dull, which is not something that I say about a Frederic Malle scent very often. So the sample arrived a few days ago. I sprayed it straight away and I smelt it. Having read a little bit about the description beforehand, trying to read as little as possible. It's so boring, says Woozy, to the point of being annoying. Yeah, I may be able to go along with you on that one. And I smell, I sort of sprayed some on the back of my hand and some on a blotter. And I'm smelling it and thinking, okay. And so then I took it to Madame Persolaise, and I didn't tell her what it was. She rates the brand generally. She has, as you know, she loves Portrait of a Lady. And I just sort of said, smell this. And she also did the same kind of, and she sort of said, it's not terribly exciting, is it? And I said, no. I said, it's the new Frederic Malle. And she sort of went, really? And I think that kind of shoulder shrugging, really, is the main reaction that I feel, my main feeling towards this, because I keep smelling it and thinking, oh, okay, you've made us wait a year for this. What are we actually smelling? Now, again, to give the brand their due, what we are smelling is pretty accurately conveyed in the little blurb on the back. I'm really, really pleased that they still do these blurbs, although I don't agree with everything in the blurb, okay, but the actual objective descriptions of what's in it. So, okay, it starts with uncompromising, bold, filled with enigmatic charm. I don't think there's anything enigmatic about this scent. Based on master perfumer Maurice Roucel's personal cologne, Uncut Gem is an unapologetically manly scent, diamond hard, and absolutely fresh. Okay, well, let's leave those subjective descriptors to one side for the moment. Clear, spicy top notes of ginger, bergamot, mandarin, angelica root, and nutmeg. Okay, I do get lots and lots of ginger and a lot of the sort of slightly spicy woodiness of angelica. This carries on. Lead you to the sensual fire within. A leathery accord. Yes, there is a kind of leathery feel there. Vetiver, frankincense, generous amounts of amber, and a musk that vibrates with the skin. Think woody ambers. I think we're meant to sort of somewhere else. I think it says that this contains a lot of material called ambrosinide, which is essentially a sort of woody amber that is quite good at propelling the base notes up into the top. This is a scent that plays with the tired codes of masculinity while extracting their telluric force to create something beautiful and irresistible. Okay, so the bits that I agree with are the ginger, bergamot, mandarin, angelica root, nutmeg, leather, vetiver, frankincense, amber, musk. The bits that I most certainly do not agree with are this is a scent that plays with the tired codes of masculinity. I wish it did, because actually, if anything, it completely gives in to those codes of masculinity. It is kind of fresh, stroke, spiky, woody ambery at the top. It is quite effervescent with that ginger note that comes through at the top. What else can you say though about something that actually is really, really quite unremarkable? So all of this business of it being uncompromising, bold, filled with enigmatic charm, I was hardly aware of wearing it. after about, I don't know, an hour of having sprayed it. And then I thought, oh gosh, perhaps it was me, you know, maybe I'm having like a sort of bad smelling day. So I wore it for another day. And again, it just sort of faded into the background really quite quickly, much faster than I particularly wanted it to. I know that some people have described it to me as vile and almost like sort of leaving a bad taste in their mouth. I don't get that. And as I say, I kind of wish I did. I have something else to say about it. Let's let the blotter carry on. And yes, as it progresses, it does become less and less naturalistic. I think it becomes more overtly synthetically woody amberish, perhaps even less interesting. But let's see what some people are saying in the comments before I tell you something else that I think is worth mentioning. So my mouse has died. What are people saying here? Let's go back up to the top. It's crazy because the blurb on their site is saying it's groundbreaking, says Patchouli Pappy. No. David says it's supposed to be uberly. Oh, that's uberly, is it? I love the way you've written that. Uberly masculine. Really? The only mal that I found dull, says Eric, is L'Eau d'Hiver. I enjoy Eleanor so much with that one. Okay, so this is where we make sort of now segue into the other thing that I want to say in this video, because as a lot of people may know, I adore L'Eau d'Hiver, and I think L'Eau d'Hiver is one of the strongest from the range. They ask 300 euros for this, says Paul Parfumo, after all the great fragrances they've made. Pradeep says a Simrise business deal is what it is. Maybe. Nicola says Uncut Gem or Bleu de Chanel. No, see, it's not. I don't think it's anywhere near as upsetting as Bleu de Chanel. The price is an aggravating factor, says Rich Mitch. I agree. Is it lifeless, says David? Yeah, I guess it kind of is. Or maybe soulless. It is just one, maybe two notches above the smell of kind of like, you know, generic masculine that you might get if you're walking through an airport. Let's say 2 notches above, because it's probably made with better materials. This should have been released as a Dior Privé, says Patchouli Pappy. In the top, I got reminded of a spicy ginger tea, says Bry, for a second. Cut some ginger with a steel knife, says Pradeep, and leave it on the counter. Smell it the next day. Okay, is that a challenge? And fading is unusual, says Woozy, given the dosage of ambrosinide, which is insanely long-lasting. Spaced Out says, I think even Maurice Roucel thought this was a bad idea for a release, but Frederic Malle just wanted it really bad as a release. Do you know that for a fact? Is that speculation? I doubt that this was the perfume Roucel made for himself, says Paul Parfumo. How does it compare with Francis Creccion's Grand Soir's Amber? I'd need to revisit that one. Okay, so let's just let the blotter do what it's doing. The one place where I do sort of part company with a lot of people and what they've been saying about this release is when people say things like, oh, look at what the brand has been like since he sold to Estee Lauder. They haven't released anything good since he sold up to Estee Lauder. It's all just going downhill, etc., etc., etc. That is where I don't agree. And I wanted to go back and look at the sort of context of the things that the brand has released since it came into being, just to make sure that I was actually remembering the past accurately. Now, you know, and I'm not the only person who feels this way, you know that I consider it still to be a very, very strong brand, a very important brand. Frederic Malle himself is an extremely important figure in the industry. There is very little he doesn't know about the industry. I could listen to him talking about the industry for hours. But even if we were to go back to the very beginning of his releases, so I'm looking now here at what initially came out in the year 2000. So in the year 2000, when the brand launched, we had gems like Noir Épice, thank goodness still with us, Iris Poudre, Maurice Roucel's own Musc Ravageur, Parfum de Thérèse. But then we also had one that I have long considered to be one of the weakest in the brand. We had Angélique sous la pluie from Jean-Claude Ellena. Now, don't hate me, okay, because I know a lot of people love that one, which is kind of part of the point that I'm going to make. Then came along, where's my Dans tes bras? Dans tes bras, also Maurice Roucel. Not particularly crazy about that one, because I think it's essentially just a few semi-interesting things happening at the beginning, and then tons and tons of cashmere in the base. Then we had Promise in 2017, which was one that I wasn't particularly crazy about. I'm not a big fan of 2016's Monsieur, because I saw it as being rather heavy-handed with its use of patchouli. I have yet to be convinced by Music for a While from 2018. And so I guess the point that I'm making is that maybe this is just going to be one of the ones that I'm not especially crazy about, and maybe that a lot of us are not especially crazy about. Synthetic Jungle I rate. I think maybe not as much as some other people, but I did think it was bold and polarizing and divisive in a good way. Do you like Outrageous, says Woozy. I find Outrageous, this is Sophia Groisman's one, right? I find Outrageous kind of enjoyable to wear, but not nearly outrageous enough. I think it's very, very badly named, because you are expecting something, knowing that it's made by Sophia Groisman, you're expecting something really quite wild and crazy and out there and wacky and outrageous, but it's not. It's actually quite polite and pleasant. So maybe this is there's something of a kind of Tom Ford really trying to perform to the gods and go to the lowest common denominator element in this. I find something surprisingly crude about the marketing campaign. The name I'm kind of okay with. I can just about take the name, because actually calling a perfume Uncut Gem is quite interesting, and you could imagine a scent that goes with that name as being really, really quite rough around the edges, really quite coarse, a kind of, maybe a sort of Kouros for our age, but this doesn't have the gutsiness, and the imagery that's going with it is like a sort of close up of a crotch, isn't it? Like wearing rumpled, crumpled jeans, and even that feels quite Tom Ford in a way that I was sort of hoping Frederic Malle would never go down. And as you know, I rate Tom Ford as a brand as well, but they are very, very different brands, and I don't think they should necessarily be trying to copy each other. And so I suppose this will just be relegated to one of those that I'm not crazy about. Within the style that the brand has been following lately, I guess it displays that kind of blockiness, that kind of less nuanced, simplistic style or simplicity that we got from things like Rose and Cuir from Jean-Claude Ellena, to some extent Synthetic Jungle, although it kind of worked there. That sort of style that I think started in a way with Superstitious. I think Superstitious was one of the first ones that had very, very, very broad brushstrokes, and this is a broad brushstrokes sort of scent. See, and I'm smelling it now and thinking, it's not quite teenage boy. It's not quite, oh, well, let this be the new Le Male. It's definitely not something like Guerlain's Héritage, even though that woody amber construction is very similar to Héritage, although I much, much prefer Héritage. Okay, that's so much more refined and suave and intriguing. And so I think my final thought, because I was thinking of an analogy, and this isn't a perfect analogy, but it's the best I can do now. Many, 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 many years ago, the extremely talented, now no longer with us, British film director Anthony Minghella, when he was filming The Talented Mr. Ripley, which is a great film, one of his best films, I think. If you if you haven't seen it, do watch it. And it stars Matt Damon as Tom Ripley. It's based on the Patricia Highsmith novel, isn't it? He said that they had long, long conversations with the costume designer for the movie, because they wanted to pick, obviously, just the right outfit, just the sort of perfect outfit that would sum up Tom Ripley's status in life, his personality. He's a character, and Tom Ripley is this sort of the ultimate wannabe. He wants to climb to the top of every single social ladder that there is, and yet he's not particularly wealthy. He can't buy himself a sort of wardrobe that will make him fit in in the milieu that he so desperately wants to fit into. And so they thought that the item of clothing that he absolutely would have then in his possession would be a corduroy jacket, because they decided that a corduroy jacket is something that a man can wear to lots and lots of different occasions, lots of different types of occasions, quite legitimately, and yet would not end up looking just right in any of those occasions. So the corduroy jacket is only just good enough to actually allow you into various events, but you wouldn't ever, in any of the events, look as though you're perfectly dressed. Now, I don't necessarily agree with that all the way, because I think the teachers up and down the land would say that probably walking into an English literature class is absolutely the perfect setting in which to wear a corduroy jacket. But you get where I'm going with it. It's kind of trying to do lots of different things. It's trying to be a sort of modern masculine that maybe might appeal to a younger clientele. It's trying to maybe have the sort of suave sophistication of something that you might associate with an older sort of distinguished gent. It's trying to be bold. It's trying to be loud. It's trying to be familiar and yet have a twist to it. It's kind of trying to do all those things and not really managing any of them. And maybe it's trying to please too many people and trying to tick too many boxes. And as I smell it now, yes, it doesn't offend me in the kind of olfactory sense. The woody ambers there are not kind of rushing up my nose and ripping out my insides. But it's just boring. It's just really, really quite dull. And if only it were an uncut gem. If anything, it feels like a gem that has actually been cut to death, so that there's not very much left. Comments. Gavin says it's kind of reminiscent of Roucel's Rochas Man and Monardo's Body Kouros and Yoji Om in the opening, but then it doesn't go in a fougere direction and ends up in a more generic direction. EcoJock says The English Patient is Minghell's masterpiece. I couldn't agree more. I'm such a huge fan of that movie. I saw it at the cinema, I think, 9 or 10 times, and I was so pleased that before he passed away at an event, I was actually able to meet Anthony Minghella and tell him quite how much The English Patient means to me. Anyway, we mustn't get sidetracked, but gorgeous film. I'm wearing Eau de Magnolia from Frederic Malle. Coincidence, says Marie. That's a beautiful one. That's a really good one. Are you wearing black because you're going to the Malle funeral, says Gavin. No, because it was the first thing that I just picked out and I thought, quick, let's just wear something. Is it as bad as Promise, says Woozy. Now, see, at least Promise is huge. At least Promise gets some kind of a reaction out of me. And I know people who really, really adore Promise. And Promise, kind of makes my stomach turn and makes me think, oh my God, how could anybody wear this? This just makes me shrug. The Talented Mr. Ripley book and film are both excellent, says Angela. Maybe boring. Oh, lost the comment. This is from Lagonda. Maybe boring and unremarkable because he's not marketing to us fragrance aficionados. Yes, very good point. But to the masses that are used to designer generics, jack of all trades, says Rich, master of none. And Tripty says, Uncut Gem solidifies the industry's commitment to charging dollars for fragrances that our noses have now been trained to accept as unprovocatively interesting. I miss synthetic jungles. Provocation. And I think I will go back and read all of the other comments later. But happy to hear it's not ripping out your insides, says Nathan. Yes, I think that's probably a good note on which to end. I will do a blotter update, but I think you know just about everything I've got to say about this one, just for the sake of fairness. It's almost got like a kind of weird Hugo Boss green apple note at the beginning, but then ginger and apple, I think, aren't a million miles away from each other. We all wanted Uncut Gem. No, that is not going to be the last thing I read. Everybody read Ura's comment. Okay. Thank you very much for watching. Stay tuned to social media for details of when the next episodes are going to come up. But for now, let us all collectively shrug and be kind to each other and say, see you again soon. Take care. Bye now.